apologies if I sound a little bit grumpy. Apparently yesterday I ate all of the wrong stuff, and now I kind of want to kill everyone and everything. But doomsday plans can wait for another time. In any case, question for you guys. Is doing a good thing for a whole bunch of people ignoble? Because it almost seems like it comes off that way these days. It's like people tend to almost take the position that doing a good thing is only really good if you're doing it for the disenfranchised, the vulnerable, the underdogs. Do you know who was really an underdog? Hitler, when they were closing in on Berlin, right? He was very vulnerable at that point in time. Do you know who was really disenfranchised? Jeffrey Dahmer. You don't see a lot of necrophiliac pedophile representation. Point being, vulnerability in and of itself is not a virtue. There are a lot of reasons why people might be vulnerable or disenfranchised. Some of them are circumstantial, some of them might be self-inflicted, and some of them, there might be good reasons why people are sometimes disenfranchised or vulnerable or an underdog. Anyways, so today we have some stuff we're going to look at. Videos by pretty much all women, actually, and then we're going to look at sloths because I wanted to. So let's get it done. So there's one by Second Story about strong female characters, and then
I can.
by Brett.
Elijah wants.
We'll see if we do this one. It's one by Sydney Watson about some sort of kerfuffle involving her and someone who she's had a podcast with at one point. Alright. Here's a question. Never mind. We'll wait. Let's save that for later. She actually brings this up in this video, the Second Story. Is that her actual name, or does she haven't? Hillary brings this up later. It feels like you can do a good, strong female character. I was thinking of the one from Dungeons and Dragons, Michelle Rodriguez's character. Really well done. She kind of does kind of almost a... She sells it, put it that way. She is a person who just, like a girl who's actually capable of selling that, yes, I could probably beat up some dudes or something, right? Gina Carano's character from Mandalorian, again, sells it. Most of the time, it's very hard to take women seriously in that role, though. They come off as kind of a, 7-year-old girl who's trying to play with the boys or something, right? Trying to prove her brothers that she's just as tough or something like that. Anyways, let's take a look at this. Strong female characters are just toxic men by the Second Story.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. This
Probably have.
scene opens on a shop or a market. The female character...
This is completely unrelated. Do you think this is a real drink, or is that just for picturesque, whatever? Also, I think I had looked up the skull, because apparently that's kind of standard theater, whatever. So I think the skull is supposed to be from Hamlet. I think Hamlet is the one holding the skull, but the skull belongs to his former court jester, Yordic or something. I think I had known it was from Shakespeare or something like that. I think I thought so, but I wasn't sure if it was King Lear or something like that.
comes in and starts to examine the wares intended in terms of size for men. This could be swords, guns, bows, some kind of weapon. And the male shopkeeper comes over and says, "Ah, a lady. It just so happens."
It's kind of another thing that irks me. It feels like people are completely averse to representing exceptions as exceptions. In all the movies have to be about the exceptional woman, and you can never have ones that are just about, I guess, normal people in their normal roles. It's like they've tried so hard to break the pattern that they just created a new pattern where everyone is the exception to the rule.
is that we have these lighter swords, these smaller guns, these differently made bows. These are all intended and made specifically for women who tend to have smaller hands, weaker grip strength, and so on. Would you like to try one? Then the woman laughs and girl boss and says something along the lines of, us lady folk can handle blah 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 big man size the same as any of you boys. Stop being so misogynistic. This is so incredibly idiotic.
You go, girl.
This is the exact same as some woman walking into a shoe store and the guy comes out and says, ah, you have smaller feet, so let me show you these shoes over here that are...
Well, and again, people know that there are exceptions, but, like, the fact that there are exceptions does not mean that you shouldn't behave according to the rule necessarily, or I guess maybe it's kind of the notion that making assumptions has been criminalized as an idea. Even if 99 times out of 100 a thing happens the way it happens, you have to act as though it's not happening 99 times out of 100. Somehow. I guess that makes sense to someone somewhere.
Are made in your size, but the woman stops him cold. No, she says, I am a strong female character. I will wear size 12 man shoes like strong man folk because I am no different from man. It's just incredibly dumb and it needs to stop. But these days, you can't make it through a single shelf in a bookstore without coming across something that proudly contains within its pages a strong female character. Such a trend is not limited to women's lit or YA, but has seeped into the content of literary...
I'm going to see if she actually takes a drink out of it at some point. I'm going to guess she would end up with some sort of milk mustache, or she probably won't. And somehow I feel robbed.
Fiction, genre fiction, mystery fiction, romance, middle grade fiction, and so on and so on. And this is true across all mediums: books, movies, television, and even video games. Stories ostensibly for men and stories for women. This isn't a sudden surge of female characters, but of specifically strong...
Also, this is kind of cool too. I'm assuming this is her PC. Well, like, that is a PC, right? That's what it looks like. I don't know, whatever shape of it. I wasn't sure if it was just a fan or something, but I think that's a PC.
Female characters. Fundamentally different, we're told. Strong female characters are one of the many, many cancers threatening to destroy...
She named her skull. That's kind of cool. Otto. No, I think that... Yeah, you have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that is kind of like a standard prop from the Hamlet play.
Storytelling here in the West. For a writer, the presence in their book of a strong female character is more important than the MFA they spent 6 years and $100,000 uselessly cultivating. If your book...
What's an MFA? I'm assuming some sort of writer's thing?
Book doesn't feature in some way a strong female character, then you might as well feed it to the confetti machine because no one else will touch it. You could look at this as an aspect of the female domination of literature that people sometimes talk about, and that is definitely a factor. Even when the authors are male, if at least one major character isn't a strong female, he will be shown the door. Or go the other way, even if the writer is female, if one of her characters isn't a strong woman of a specific type, she will invariably be bullied and pressured into changing it, provided publishers even bother pursuing her book. I get that...
Well, and that's kind of maybe the straw that broke the camel's... Well, I say the straw that broke the camel's back. But there's a glitch now, I guess. In order to get certain awards, you have to meet certain standards for diversity. Which is super annoying, I imagine, for people where you can't really be... faithful to source material sometimes just because the source material, to be authentic with the source material would be to be racist in the eyes of the people doing the judging, or to be non-inclusive, which is stupid as all get out.
This might sound a bit disingenuous coming from a woman. As a female, shouldn't I be all about the proliferation of strong female characters? Shouldn't the increase in female representation make me happy?
Well, the question of strong female characters is a little bit weird. Because, like, I know what they mean when they say strong female characters. That's not... It feels like their definition of strong female characters is kind of a bit pigeonholed a little bit. It forces women to have to behave a certain way if they want to be strong female characters. I think she goes into that a little bit.
As a woman, where do I even start? First of all, I don't know what this is exactly, this bizarre explosion of this one highly specific type of so-called female character.
It just occurred to me that she's a ginger, but I guess we'll, go on with it.
But it
I still think I had it in my head that I actually reviewed a video of this woman a while back. I'm not for sure if I did or not. I think I at least watched one of her videos.
it isn't female representation and it isn't female empowerment. It's actually the opposite, which I'll get into in a minute. More than that, these women are barely women.
Oh, yeah. It's like they take anything that is innately or intuitively female, the natural rhythms into which, like, women would tend to fall, and they demonize it as being something that men forced on women, rather than something that was just naturally occurring. Somehow, which is weirdly misogynistic. It's weirdly misogynistic, and again, it's that notion of the exception must be the rule. Oh, women aren't all like that, and they feel the need to acknowledge that not all women are like that incessantly and perpetually in all of their films, and make all of their women always the exception to the rule. Just stupid.
They are nominally women. In almost every case that I looked at, almost every story I read or watched, almost every character highlighted by critics as an excellent, strong female character, this female character typically had much more in common with men. It wasn't
Based.
just that her strength was portrayed in a masculine way, like that turbo cringe shot in Twilight when Bella started arm wrestling all the dudes. It was also that everything else about these women was very masculine, so much so that the fact that they were women was only evident by reading.
Here's I guess I'm not even sure if this would I'm not for sure if these women were actually written as men, if it would play off well either. Because it doesn't feel like they're really good male characters either. Like, if you literally just switch the gender, like, would it pass? Would it actually pass as something that people would be okay with? I'm not for sure.
The pronouns if it was in a book, or looking for boobs if it was a game or a movie. Otherwise, there was no real way to determine that these women were women. For the record, in case this somehow isn't clear, I am not saying that female characters are bad, but rather this specific industry-branded strong female character. And a huge part of that is that genuinely female strong characters are wonderful, but you hardly ever see them anymore. I miss female characters. I miss the Ripleys and the Sarah Connors. I want more Jo Marches and even Meg Marches. I also don't understand why these women...
See, that's the thing. It feels like, again, even if these characters, these strong female characters, were played as men, like if it literally was just a dude acting the way that woman is acting, I feel like it wouldn't be a good male character either. He would just be kind of a jackass. Like, it's not, yeah, it's not just the fact that they're women. It's just they are badly written.
Aren't considered strong female characters. Maybe they are, but if that's the case, then why do people claim that there have only recently been strong women in stories? Were the Ripleys and the Sarah Connors and the Lucy Pevensies and the Eowyn's not?
Well, if you define strong as a certain type of strength, then yeah, sure, you could say, oh, women have only recently begun to be portrayed as strong in movies.
Strong enough? Was there something...
I kind of have the same problem with, like, feminism, where they kind of almost insult women by saying that up until the present, all women have been kept down by the patriarchy. Well, yes, men and women did different things. Men generally had the majority of the, direct control because they were the stronger ones, and women weren't well suited to war and the hardships that life brought their way. So there was definitely gender roles. But to say that women were completely without agency because that was the case, feels like it's a little bit insulting to women.
Wrong with them? Were they not manly enough? There is something perverse in the fact that a strong female character must present strength in the way a man does. Women cannot, it seems, just...
I was thinking of the Village People song. You got to be a macho man.
to be strong. No, they have to be man strong. Otherwise, apparently, they're not strong and they're not worthwhile women. In a sense, this comes across like women as women are being pushed aside and that women as
Based.
men are what is to be preferred or celebrated. That is, a woman is not worth anything unless she strips off her femininity and dons the masculinity of men. One example to get things rolling here would be Gillian Anderson's character in The Fall, Stella Gibson, whose behavior was deliberately and explicitly meant to be a female doing man things, including, memorably, picking up a random younger man in a bar to take back to her hotel room as a kind of weird show of sexual dominance. When she was later scolded for doing this, considering particularly that the man was married, she didn't acknowledge that there was anything wrong with her actions, but that it was merely hypocritical for men to have a problem with a woman doing something that was, apparently, to her anyway, normal for a man. The layers of garbage.
Well, normal doesn't mean good. Again, if it was portrayed as a guy doing this, he would still kind of be a jackass, I imagine. I'm not saying there aren't guys who would be like, yeah, look at that guy go out there and do but in a general sense, I think he would still be he wouldn't be a good person just because he was written as a guy rather than a masculinized woman.
There are astounding. Let's ignore the ludicrous implication that every man everywhere for all of time, according to the writer of The Fall, fully intends to sleep with literally every able-bodied woman who crosses his path.
Again, based.
And let's instead focus on the way this woman's complexity and character were built around aspects which she and the writer framed as at least socially masculine. This woman's strength was presented in her impulse to behave unapologetically in a way that was deemed common to men. This also highlighted her independent separateness from men and,
again, common doesn't mean good,
her social superiority to men, because, well, at least she wasn't a hypocrite about it. All of which also, by the way, somehow made her equal to men, I think. As such, she was lauded as a strong female character. More than that, Gillian Anderson herself pointed out that a part of what made Stella,
or alternatively just a tool,
Gibson confident and strong was her masculinity, which suggests that in order for girls and women to be strong or impressive or confident or successful, they have to, in some way, be manlike. Let's just tiptoe around the fact that women in popular culture these days are being more and more defeminized. This ostensibly is being done to provide more strong, realistic female characters. But the result is characters who aren't just bad characters, and they aren't just non-female female characters. Very, very often, they're actually bad people, too. But because they're...
yeah, well, and again, she brings this up later, actually, in this video, but she actually mentions Hulda, I think, Michelle Rodriguez's character from Dungeons & Dragons, which is a really good character, and a really good female character. But she kind of sells the whole, I could actually beat up someone, I could actually do some of the more manly stuff without sacrificing the more maybe feminine characteristics of her, part of her character. She plays into kind of both of those roles really well.
Women being bad in the way supposedly men are allowed to be bad, that makes it not just okay, but actually admirable, apparently. I don't know about other women, but speaking for myself alone, I find these horrendously de-womaned, anti-feminine female characters deeply insulting to the point that I feel womanness has not even been portrayed. To my mind, these are not female characters. I don't know what they are, but they aren't female characters.
Writing a book is hard. Knowing if it's good, even harder. Meet manuscript analysis. It gives
Ha! She did it. Okay, I was wrong. It's not just a prop, I guess she was.
There are three major things I want to talk about today.
And no milk mustache, but she did cut, so maybe she did, do something dainty or whatever.
Okay. Why are all these strong female characters so terrible? Why has it resulted in increasingly non-female women? And is there a better way to write a...
This is maybe going to be a hot take and a bit of armchair psychoanalyzation. I genuinely think the people who write these people really don't like men. Or they don't like heteronormative, cisgendered men. That's my hot take.
strong woman. Spoiler alert, the answer to number 3 is yes, but we need to get through the other points first so we can fully understand where we've gone so wrong. That way we can, never make the same mistakes again. Number 3 is yes.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what it was. Why are all these strong female characters so terrible? Why has it resulted in non-female women? Is there a better way to write strong? Yes. Oh, okay, gotcha.
A better way to write a strong woman. Spoiler alert, the answer to number 3 is yes, but we need to get through the other points first so we can fully understand where we've gone so wrong. That way we can, never make the same mistakes again. Let's talk first about strength. This is a big topic and encompasses an assortment of issues. So first, we're going to talk about how absurd and insulting it is to present female characters as being only strong if they possess strength that is comparable to a man's. I have myself expressed fatigue at the overabundance of girl boss characters, and I've heard others say it as well. But something worth pointing out, the girl boss character isn't annoying because she's a girl boss, but because she's not a girl. She's some weird faux male. What have I done? Some ostensibly female character wearing man skin and man traits, pretending that that makes her a strong woman. It's off-putting. You don't have to be looking for it to see that the only strength allowed to be present in strong female characters is the same strength that is present in your average male characters. It doesn't matter that there certainly are women out there who can swing a sword or fix their own engine or accurately fire a desert eagle with one hand.
Well, and there's, I think she's very right in this, that there is, the notion that we need more men to be men. Not really. I mean, there are already men to do that. Historically, I guess men would have actually done more of the living without women than women living without men. Like, women would often live in societies for the most part. Even nunneries or places like that would probably have had male servants to do things or stuff like that. But that's not to say that men are better off without women. Yes, they would go on military campaigns. Yes, they would, do settlements. I think men can survive, technically, without women, but women, being women, makes society better. I think they do perform a necessary or at least advantageous function. So no, we don't need more women being men and doing man things. We need them to be women.
The point is that nowadays...
Again, I don't consider myself a feminist, but, the only regard in which I would consider myself a feminist is that if a person is good at doing a thing, they should be able to do it for commensurate value, presumably. So if a woman's good at doing something, there are exceptions to the rule, right, generally speaking, so maybe make room for that as well, but just in general.
Representation in media would have us, and by us I mean both women and men, but especially women, believe that a woman who cannot do these things is inferior to other women who can.
9.
Because she is inferior to men. That a woman who has no interest in swinging a sword or who finds the desert eagle too big for her hands is therefore not ever going to qualify as a strong female and is probably being...
Again, back in the day, this was fine when it was kind of drizzled in there instant among other, other movies, when it was represented as the exception to the rule, because it is the exception to the rule. Yes, there are women who can do these things. But now it feels like everything must be represented as this new and improved version of femininity.
Oppressed or enslaved in some way or something, I don't know. To start with, I think it would be helpful to define and then unbox the idea of strong insofar as it pertains to characters and character building. In the earliest days of this trend, I assumed that a strong female character was one that was well written. My initial complaint regarding the demand for more strong female characters was that there were already hundreds of well-written women on the pages and on the screens of storytelling throughout history, throughout the world, probably thousands. In time, however, I was corrected in my apparently erroneous assumptions. Whether or not they were well written was not the matter, I was told. The issue was that they needed to be strong. What does this mean, strong? A lot of writers these days interpret that literally, that a woman has to be physically mighty to be even remotely impressive. The reality, like it or not, is that most women, even very trained female athletes, will fall short in physical strength when compared to men. This goes for the strength of a punch, to grip strength, to a whole host of other physical.
Well, even I think like the fundamental makeup of their muscular structure is different, skeletal different. There's a thing called it's like the hip to leg angle. Forgot what it's called, but that's different. It makes a difference in biking and a lot of, I think, leg sports, probably, maybe swimming, running. Just a lot of different stuff, all in all.
Areas. There's a reason women have their own sports leagues and fighting leagues. It wouldn't be fair for women to have to compete against men. But there's nothing wrong with that. Women are under no obligation to be as strong as men. There's no rule anywhere that says women have to be considered as strong as men, otherwise that's misogynistic. It's not. It's fine and normal. So just to be
That's exactly what a misogynist would say.
clear, partly because I'm also a woman, I have no issue with
And a witch. Sorry, I can't let the ginger thing go without making a remark.
the fact that women are typically not going to be as strong men. That doesn't mean I think less of women, because
For the record, women with curly hair are also witches. Well, that's kind of neither here nor there. They're kind of half and half. 50-50 shot.
as we'll soon see, physical strength
Ill-tempered in any case.
is only one kind of strength, and measuring women against men is pointless. Women don't have to be as strong as men in order to be strong, even physically so. Strong women are impressive in their own right. They don't need to be man-strong to be legitimately admirable or even aspirational. At first
So says you. History began with Susan B. Anthony. No.
glance, it seems fine, even commendable, to portray the fact that a woman too is capable of masculine types of physical strength. However, it's
Again, it just irks me that this kind of modern take on history and the feeling like the modern feminist movement, they're the ones who raised women up above their bedraggled, oppressed beginnings. That they're the ones who gave women real power. Like, yeah, sure. Sure you did. Good for you.
suggests that for a woman to truly be strong, she must be stronger than men. But how a woman's physical strength compares to a man's has nothing at all to do with the existence of the strength itself. A woman does not cease to possess physical strength if hers is found to be inferior to or different from a man's. If a strong female character is being written into the narrative,
Well, physical strength might be the wrong term, but yeah, I agree. Women can be strong without being strong in the same way that men are. Anyways,
in order to be aspirational to female audiences, depicting her as being strong only because she has masculine strong traits will have the opposite effect in most cases. Women who are not stronger than the average strong male might view themselves as not only weak, but as a disappointment to their fellow women, inferior not just to strong men, but to strong women. Which leads us to the second point. This will present to audiences the idea that feminine strength, or anything at all that makes a woman less masculine, is weakness. This will lead women and young girls to come to despise their inherent femininity as something to be ashamed of. We have once again reached a point in history where young girls are being conditioned to be ashamed of their bodies. Why? Because if they're too feminine, then that must mean they're not very strong. Horseshoe theory, extreme modern feminism is indistinguishable from actual misogyny. So you see,
yeah, it's not necessarily untrue.
female characters will tend now to be written with less and less femininity because the modern zeitgeist has declared that femininity is weakness. It's madness, but there it is. Not to speak of the fact that women who go out of their way to try to be like men because they insist that it makes them better women are very off-putting to both men and other women. It should go without saying that I love physically strong female characters, like, for example, Sarah Connor or even Éowyn. I love the shield maiden.
I forgot about Éowyn. She's pretty cool, too. She ends up getting with Faramir, actually, at the end of it all. I think he's appointed by Aragon as kind of the governor of one of his provinces or something, I think. Yeah, they end up together. Which is nice. It's nice. kind of thing. You kind of feel sad for her because she falls in love with Aragorn. Obviously, she doesn't get Aragorn. Obviously, so again, I think Faramir was kind of a interesting character. Maybe it's more of it in the books than there is in the. I think in the extended cut of the movie, it does kind of actually hint that they are getting together, but yeah.
Maidens and the powerful ladies in ancient tales like Brunhild. But in times past, these types of characters weren't required to present masculinity as strength, but rather strength as strength. In all other areas, they were permitted to be women. Very feminine women. In fact, it was...
Sorry, a little bit of a diversion here. Yeah, I think I'm thinking in The Lord of the Rings, after she's wounded by the Witch King, she kind of falls ill for a while, especially after, I think, Aragorn leaves or something like that. I'm not sure if it was kind of a little bit of depression or something. But I think in whatever case, I think Faramir kind of helped her get over some of that. So it was actually kind of nice little romantic scene there.
Is their femininity that gave them strength. Sarah Connor was a mother who turned into a mega badass so she could protect her son. Éowyn was a princess who, in the end, wanted only the power to protect her uncle, her family, and who still behaved with feminine grace and proudly declared, at the crucial moment, that she was most emphatically not a man, letting her long hair flow freely before delivering the killing blow. There's a reason Éowyn is admired by girls, because Éowyn's strength existed because of her femininity, not in spite of it. It's worth adding, in case this isn't already clear, I also have no problem with men in this male-female strength dynamic. Men are also not inferior to women because they're stronger than them. Men are
Exactly what a misogynist would say.
Are not victimizing women just because they tend to have a stronger grip strength than women. This is all normal and fine and not something that needs to be fixed. But as I said, comparing women to men does a disservice to both parties. Only allowing a woman's prestige and strength and greatness to be measured against a man's is wrong, just as it would be wrong to measure a man against a woman. In certain areas, men and women can be considered equal, or at least as equal as any two human beings can be. But in many areas, particularly physical areas, they generally are not. This doesn't make one better and one worse, it just means they're different.
Alright. That's a good place to leave it. You guys can check out the rest if you want. Strong female characters are just toxic men by the second story, aka Hillary something. Yeah. Good video. Didn't finish it actually. I actually might go back and finish it at some point here. Alright, moving on. Video by Brett Cooper about weed. I think, it's just to preface this, I think, well, she goes into this, but she has a brother who is schizophrenic, which is, I think, part of why she's very invested in this. She gets quite animated. Alright. Willie Nelson, we're coming for you. Now, for the record, I think there are a lot of studies that would seem to indicate that weed is by no means as benign as perhaps it has been represented. There are effects, some of them quite bad.
Cannot stand stoners.
Anyways, here we go. Why the Weed Debate is Personal by Brett Cooper, episode 133. I'm assuming she started this kind of series after she got her new channel.
I cannot stand stoners. And no, that does not mean that I...
Agreed. They talk funny. Can't. Terrible cadence.
I hate everybody who has ever smoked weed in their life or taken an edible, but I hate the stoner culture. I hate weed.
Well, the whole... I kind of stolen this from a David Mitchell soapbox episode, but the notion that you have to have like drink to talk to people, or I guess edibles to calm yourself down in social situations, it's just like, why? Like, why would you become dependent upon that for those types of situations? Like, you're kind of forcing yourself into into a very habit forming type of necessity. Because, like, you will be in social situations your entire lifetime. So you almost, like, you want to learn how to do that without any type of artificial additives. in my mind. Because, like, especially if you do become a drunk or you do become an addict of some sort, like, okay, now you have to be in social situations, but it just doesn't feel like that's the smartest route to take.
Weed culture, and I especially hate the people who refuse to admit that there are risks to their culturally accepted, legalized, harmless drug. So let's talk about it. Now, you might have seen, and maybe you even found my channel from this, but I had a post blow up on X yesterday about this exact subject, and we will get to that very shortly. But the reason why I was tweeting about weed in the first place and my personal experiences with this is because of a new piece that just dropped from the New York Times editorial board. And that piece is entitled, "It's Time for America to Admit That It Has a Marijuana."
Marijuana. I'm not sure if that's just how we said it growing up. I think we're trying to make fun of it a little. Sorry, not fun of Spanish people. For the record, I had heard the Super Bowl was done in Spanish, or the halftime show by Bad Bunny, which is the language of conquistadors. I thought it was full on based. Okay, language of conquistadors. Yeah, never mind. Very based though. Very based of him to do that.
Problem. Finally, some of us have been waiting years for this information to come out, or for this information to become more commonplace. Now, obviously, right off the bat, we have to say that this is incredibly funny and ironic coming from a publication and organization that was one of the driving forces behind cannabis being legalized in so many states and really just being normalized across the board. For example, in a Politico analysis of this op-ed, they wrote that the New York Times editorial board walked back its years-long support for marijuana legalization.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, newspapers, I guess maybe they just did an article at some point. New York Times editorial board walked back its years-long support.
In a Monday editorial, writing that the U.S. has recently gone too far in accepting and even promoting its use. So the people who have always talked about the slippery slope, they are vindicated once again, honestly, as they usually are. Maybe we should learn from that. They go on and they say in the piece, the editorial board conceded that some of its past positions on legalization...
It's a gateway... No, I guess I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know if it's necessarily a gateway drug per se, but it is a thing that is perhaps worth being careful about in and of itself.
No longer hold up, including its initial assessment that marijuana addiction and dependence are quote-unquote relatively minor problems, especially compared with alcohol and tobacco. That is what the New York Times said prior to this op-ed. And listen, credit where credit is due, people are finally catching on to what so many of us have been saying for years. But attitudes and perceptions do not change overnight, and so this does not mean that people online, especially the stoners, are happy. But honestly, this basically happens every single time we call out one of society's vices. Now, before we dive into the story, make sure that you like this.
People don't like having their vices called out. The whole prohibition, that was like one of the... I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. I feel like quite often moral codes are the progenitors of political policy. It almost never goes the other way, where you create a political policy which then changes people's minds about their morals, right? You could take things like the prohibition, very well-meaning political policy. Right, there's a lot of damage, just, especially these days, like car accidents every year that are caused by drunk driving, a whole manner of crime and homicide and abuse that are inspired by inebriation, arguably preventable situations if you just did away with drink. But people didn't want it, and so they wasted a whole bunch of money and time and manpower trying to stamp out the drink industry thing. Just didn't work, right? People wanted it. People didn't. They tried. They subverted the laws that people were coming up with. All the dry counties and stuff like that. Speakeasies, I guess, became a thing. People didn't want it. And I feel like, generally speaking, with regards to political policy, you have to have an overwhelming majority of the population that is in favor of this and will aid the police in enforcing that. You can have a small subset that are at least indifferent, and then probably even a smaller subset that actually actively try to subvert that thing. Again, it feels like moral codes are the progenitor of political policy. Very rarely does it go the other way. I can't think of a scenario in which it did, but maybe there are such scenarios.
this video and subscribe to the channel if you found this video informative and you enjoyed it. And if you want to stay up to date on every single one of our uploads, make sure to ring that notification bell. In this new op-ed, the New York Times concedes finally that policymakers have taken too much of a hands-off approach when it comes to marijuana. And again, after more than a decade of
Like gentle parenting.
pushing for this acceptance
Sorry, I'm gonna have to use it as the thumbnail. Probably like 206 or something.
and legalization across many, many states, they argue that maybe possibly some
No,
regulation
that one. That one right there. Possibly. Somewhere in there. I might grab one of
might
those.
be in order. They wrote, at the time, supporters of legalization predicted that it would bring very few downsides. In our editorials, we described marijuana addiction
Well, I've still heard the notion that, to some extent, some of marijuana, maybe depending on the person at least, is less... It's less harmful than some of the other drugs people could be taking for certain issues. So, you know, maybe there's something there, but it's, again, by no means just a benign sort of thing without any sort of dangers or possibility of danger.
and dependence as relatively minor problems. Many advocates went further and claimed that marijuana was a harmless drug that might even bring net health benefits. They also said that legalization might not lead to greater use.
Wasn't there something recently where they were taking methamphetamine or something and just altering it a little bit? No, was it mushrooms? It was something where they were actually figuring out a way to heal brain cells or something. It might have been mushrooms. I'm not for sure. Interesting idea, though.
I also remember reading and hearing from friends that actually it wasn't an addictive substance. People can't get addicted to weed. It's not like alcohol. It's not like other drugs. Again, totally harmless. That was commonplace. That was the dialogue, especially when I was a teenager. They go on and they say it is now clear that many of these predictions...
And the thing is, in spite of the fact that it might not have addictive properties in and of itself, it still can be very, like, habit forming. Like, there'd be people who say, like, porn addiction or maybe even, I guess, drinking or something like that isn't really addictive either, but there's the way you get your brain to start thinking, the way you can train your brain to think. You start getting it into a groove, it can be very hard to get it out of that same groove. So I don't know if maybe there's a difference between what you would call a chemical dependency versus just a habit, but it might be to some extent functionally the same thing.
were wrong. Legalization has led to much more use. Surveys suggest that about 18 million people in the United States have used marijuana almost daily, or about 5 times a week, in recent years. That was up from about 6 million in 2012 and less than 1 million in 1992. More Americans now use marijuana daily than alcohol. Now, I think that there are many reasons for this. This could be branched into an entirely other episode. Obviously, we've talked about, especially my generation specifically, not drinking as much. I think that that is very much tied to the lack of socialization when it comes to Gen Z. We are far more isolated. Weed is definitely not a social drug. You're not, popping an edible and then going out to the club. I mean, maybe you are. More power to you, I guess, but it is not like alcohol in that way.
I think there would be people who use edibles to kind of help them relax in social situations or something.
It is an isolating drug. You're taking an edible, you're hanging out at home, you're going to bed, you're playing video games, you're reading a book, whatever it is. As we become more isolated, the usage of weed has increased. And all of these numbers that the New York Times laid out, they are crazy, but they're also not shocking for most people. Like, not even for me. Like, all of this has become commonplace. Just a few days ago, I was chatting with a colleague who was talking about how he relies on edibles and gummies to be able to sleep better. Members of my extended family do the same. They talk about this openly.
Again, I hate the notion of, like, you taking drugs or drink or something as a part of a routine, like making it a part of, like, this is what I have to do blank thing. Like, it's just a bad idea in my mind.
It's not taboo. One of my best friends uses weed recreationally. Like, this is as normalized, if not more so, than alcohol in our current culture. Now, what should actually be normalized is balance of nature. Now, if you're like me and you don't really know
that was nice. I've even watched this before, and I didn't see that coming.
what phytonutrients are, you are going to love this. Balance of nature supplements make understanding and taking
Phytonutrients.
care of your health easy. And it all starts with phytonutrients, the naturally occurring plant nutrients found in whole foods that give them their color, taste, and smell. And when it comes to your diet and your supplements, the Whole Health System gives you 47 whole food ingredients, and all of them contain those naturally occurring phytonutrients. So whether you have been on the fence for a long time, because I've been working with Balance of Nature for a long time, or it's the first time that you are hearing about them, I recommend that you go to balanceofnature.com and order their Whole Health System supplements as a preferred customer today. Now back to that opens you up. This being so normalized, when you talk about the risks, especially online, that opens you up to the chill, laid-back screeches, angry screeches of stoners who are convinced, or maybe just want to be convinced, that this drug is still totally harmless and
well, and there's a point to be made that I think people are the most defensive when they're kind of standing on thin ice and they know they're on thin ice a little bit. People who are really secure in their beliefs tend not to care that much about what you think. Like their perspective is quite secure in their own mind. It's the ones who kind of go off at the slightest touch. They're the ones who are a little bit like, I don't know, it's a bit fragile. Don't touch it too much.
totally cool and totally awesome. But I'm sorry, it isn't. For millions of people, it is not.
It's the shrooms guys too. Those guys have a weird tilt or cadence to the way they speak. Surfer bros, yeah, man, it's totally rad.
Harmless, and they are vulnerable to these consequences. And I'm glad it works for the people who enjoy it or who benefit from it, but we need to stop lying to millions of people and pretending that this drug is just a chill plant that is just totally harmless. And the New York Times again finally conceded to that point. They wrote, "This wider use has caused a rise in addiction and other problems. Each year, nearly 2.8 million people in the United States suffer from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which causes severe vomiting and stomach pain. More people have also ended up in hospitals with marijuana-linked paranoia and chronic psychotic disorders. Bystanders have also been hurt, including by people driving under the influence of pot." And yet, for years, guys, I was told certifiably by bros and comment sections and folks in the media that this drug was so different than alcohol and it was completely safe. Like,
Hippies.
please, it is time to finally be real. This op-ed obviously caused a firestorm online. People have been debating it. They were shocked that the New York Times went there, and it has basically been the entirety of my algorithm for the last 48 hours. And people like Alex Berenson, who wrote the book Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness, and Violence, are taking a much-deserved victory lap. And by the way, just giving him a shout-out, I highly recommend that book, especially if you are a parent of a young person, an adolescent, a teen, or if you are just a teen that wants to be armed with the information. Highly recommend it. Now, in addition to Alex, you have Sagar and Jetty from Breaking Point, who has been long trying to sound the alarm. You have Mike Cernovich. You have Dr.
What the? Sagar and Jetty. That sounds like some sort of Swedish gobbledygook.
Jetty from Breaking Point, who has been long trying to sound the alarm. You have Mike Cernovich. You have Dr. Drew, who was literally just talking about this in December on Fox. I mean, it is people from all different sides of the political spectrum, people in different disciplines, and the main point that all of them have gone back to is this issue of cannabis-induced psychosis. Somebody who has also been speaking about this for years, way before it was accepted or cool, is my good friend Liz Wheeler, who I just adore. And I mean, post, after...
No, that's a thing too. Like, sorry, the psychosis thing. I think it can be a thing where, like, marijuana is a psychoactive drug. So it can actually induce stuff like that. There are people who've had, like, a bad trip or something like that. I think Brad Taste in Music was one I'd heard about. He's a YouTuber who used to do, like, just kind of music reviews. Yeah, apparently he had, like, a really bad trip when he was growing up or something. I'm not for sure, like, what he's really doing these days. He had a kind of a crash out a little bit. Yeah.
Post, episode after episode, trying to, again, sound the alarms of the dangers of this drug, especially to a more conservative, libertarian audience who has often supported this more hands-off approach from our government under the guise, or I would say under the principle of freedom, and just, you know, live and let...
Again, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that, because it feels like to try and waste manpower figuring out this problem and forcing people not to do it, like to regulate it, I don't know if that would really work. I don't know if people are really in favor of something like that enough. I don't know if there's enough support from the population for it, but like what she's doing here, just raising awareness about some of the crap that can go along with it, probably a good idea in general.
Live, allow people to do what they want, smoke what they want.
In any case, we'll leave it there. Alright, you can go check this out if you like. Why the Weed Debate is Personal by Brett Cooper. I think we're going to leave this one for now. But if you want to go check out this video by Sydney Watson, it's kind of unfortunate. There was a former colleague of hers that kind of went a little bit nutso, or was nutso, and she had gotten wrapped up in a lawsuit with him, and now stuff is coming out, and she's kind of vindicated, I guess. So you can go check that out if you want. Anyways, to the sloth problem. Look at that nefarious little bastard. What's he up to? Slowly creeping towards a sleeping infant? Alright, Alright, sloth speed explained, why they're so sluggish. Sloths look slow in a way that almost doesn't feel real, but their sluggish movement isn't a flaw or weakness. Might just be a different type of functionality. It's weird, like all the ways things can get away with it. You would think that being slow would mean that they would die very quickly, but I guess nature finds a way. As that dude. Sorry. In any case, maybe it's a fearfully and wonderfully made from a Christian perspective. Every part of their body is made around saving energy, avoiding danger, and surviving a habitat where moving too fast would cause more harm than good. Their pace is the result of millions of years of evolution, so says you. And once for the record, I don't really care that much about people's interpretation of that sort of thing. We're here, and I guess that's enough. And you see how each part of their biology fits together. For the record, I think with regards to evolution, I think at least most people would find the notion of microevolution to be, very feasible at the very least. It's hard not to, just because that's something you can even see. I've mentioned this before. There was actually a cool thing in Russia where they would interbreed foxes for docile character traits. And after a few generations, they literally had like tame foxes. It's pretty cool. You see how each part of their biology fits together. Their slow rhythm makes complete sense. Their muscles are designed for holding on, not moving fast. Everyone assumes that sloths are weak simply because they move slowly, but that's not true at all. Their bodies are actually strong, but in a very specific way, because their muscles are built to lock onto branches and hold their weight for long periods without using much energy. They lack the quick twitch muscle fiber needed for sprinting or sudden movement, so speed is a physically impossible for them to maintain. Interesting. It'd be interesting if, in some future where they've learned to, intersplice species, if you could somehow get a little bit of a sloth muscle mixed in with the fast twitch response stuff. Alright. Knowing how their muscles work helps explain why their pace stays the same, no matter what happens around them. When an animal is built to grip safely in high trees rather than jump or run, the safest and most efficient choice is slow, steady movement that protects them from falls and energy loss. Their diet gives them very little energy to work with. The problem shows when sloths rely on leaves that are low in nutrients and difficult to digest. Their stomachs works more slowly than almost any other mammals, and it can take days for them to break down a single meal. With such limited energy available, they can't afford to waste strength on a fast movement or sudden burst of activity. You know what had occurred to me? Do sloths actually think slower or see slower than other creatures, or are they pretty much the same in that regard? Like their perception is all the same, but they just can't react as quick. Alright, when the food you eat releases energy slowly in small amounts, conserving that energy becomes essential for survival. So sloths move at a pace that matches the fuel their bodies can produce. Slow movement helps them avoid predators in the tree tops. Look at him. Yeah, I ate that leaf. I did that. Fast movement creates noise or draws attention to them in the canopy, which is no good. Predators such as harpy eagles use sight to find their targets, and any sudden motion makes an animal easier to spot. Moving slowly keeps sloths hidden among the leaves and reduces the chance of being noticed. In other words, speed would actually place them in danger when their survival depends on blending into branches rather than escaping quickly. Slow and quiet movement becomes their strongest natural defense. Their metabolism runs at one of the slowest rates of any mammal. People expect sloths to behave like other tree-dwelling animals. Their body temperature changes with the environment, and they burn calories extremely slowly, which limits how much activities their bodies can support in a single day. A faster lifestyle would drain their energy before they could replace it. The fact that they are slow, like, it's kind of like what happened first. Did they slow down, or did they become slow and then have to change their eating or whatever? Alright, that slow metabolism helps explain their daily routine. When an animal's internal system only produces enough energy for careful, measured movement, every action must match the pace to keep the animal stable and safe in its habitat. Their claws make quick movement risky and unsafe. It is easier to overlook how long and curved their claws are. These claws are perfect for anchoring onto branches, but they make rapid motion dangerous because a slip or misstep could send the sloth falling from a considerable height. Okay. Fast movement increases the chance of accidents they can't recover from. Knowing this helps explain why they move with such care. When your safety depends on steady balance and firm gripping, slow movement becomes the most sensible and secure option for traveling through the treetops without injury. Here's a question. Do tortoises kind of have the same thing going on? They're the really slow ones, right? Of course, they have a lot more time. Alright, where was I? Show off. They conserve energy because their environment is unpredictable. You know, snakes are kind of a little bit maybe in that realm too, where maybe it's depending on the environment, they might switch around a little bit. We actually used to have a Queensland carpet python, and we used to watch it eat stuff. It was mice when it was younger, and then squirrels once it got older. It was kind of interesting seeing the way it would actually do that. Weather changes quickly in the rainforest. It occurred to me that we had the most unimaginative name for it. We just literally called it Queenie. It got out at one point, and they don't live where we live, so I'm assuming it's dead by now, probably. They were kind of notorious cage breakers. Alright, weather changes quickly in the rainforest, leaving sloths with only limited chances to eat or warm themselves. If they moved quickly and wasted energy on unnecessary tasks, they would struggle to recover, especially during the colder, wetter periods that slow their digestion further. Wait a minute, alright, let me read this again. Weather changes quickly in the rainforest, leaving sloths with only limited chances to eat or warm themselves. If they move quickly and wasted energy on unnecessary tasks, they would struggle to recover, especially during colder or wetter periods that slow their digestion further. It's no wonder that sloths stay cautious with every action. Their survival depends on stretching their energy reserves over long periods, and slow movement helps them stay stable even when conditions shift unexpectedly. They don't need speed for hunting or escaping. People compare sloths to animals that must run, chase, or leap to survive, which is pretty unfair. Sloths eat leaves they can reach without difficulty. Their main defense is staying unnoticed rather than outrunning threats. Speed simply does not serve a purpose in their lifestyle. When your food doesn't run away and your predators miss you by sight, slow movement becomes the most efficient way to save energy and avoid unnecessary risks. Their body goes slowly, or grows slowly. Stupid. Their body grows slowly, so rushing would damage their muscles. It's incorrect to assume that sloths develop like other mammals. Their tissues grow at a slower rate, which means their muscles and joints can't support fast or repeated strain. Quick movement would put pressure on their bodies that they aren't built to handle safely. That their pace as they mature. Is this a typo? When a body is designed to move steadily and avoid strain, the safest long-term strategy. Oh, you see, designed to move. Sorry. Stay out of politics. All right. The safest long-term strategy is slow, controlled motion that protects the animal throughout its life. Their breathing limits how fast they can move. Like, do they have control over their breathing? But maybe their body just naturally, like, obviously breathing is kind of, it's involuntary as well as voluntary, so maybe they just naturally breathe slower. Sloths take in oxygen at a very slow rate. Their lungs and respiratory systems work efficiently for their lifestyle, but can't supply enough oxygen to power fast or demanding movement. Their muscles wouldn't receive the fuel they need for quick action. This is why their internal rhythms say gentle. When your breathing is slow and your energy output matches it, movement must follow the same pace to avoid exhaustion or confusion in the treetops. Alright, I think that's about enough. Well, that's about the end of it, actually. Alright, slow movement protects them from falling in the canopy. Everyone overlooks how dangerous the rainforest canopy can be, but they have vines to grab onto and swing on. Branches move, bark breaks, and footholds change suddenly, which can send fast-moving animals tumbling to the ground. Sloths avoid these dangers by taking small, deliberate steps. Let them test each branch before trusting their way to it. This survival technique helps explain why their pace never changes. Slow movements keeps them steady and balanced and safe in a challenging environment that rewards careful behavior far more than speed or agility. Alright, good for sloths. They got it going on, I guess. Alright, evil genius, here we come. I'm gonna go grab some more water, though. Alright. You can actually want to see to make sure all this is going. Should have done this probably at the beginning.
Training has stalled.
What the deuce? Why is training stalled? We don't have. Just because we don't have enough people. That's another thing we should do. Build barracks. Build bigger barracks. I wonder if we need more lockers or more beds. Whew. Okay, at some point there's going to be a vault or thingy-majab right here, but I think we could put some bunks, lockers, or something. So this seems like those just shrink. Is this the one I was having trouble with, where I couldn't figure out where to recruit the henchmen from? Oh, there we are. Unfortunately, I need to go to do that. He's the man with the Midas touch. I could do at some point, especially if I get the other mining thing, is just do some lockers along here or something like that. Start building some more of that stuff. But for the moment, we are going to build a barrack space. Maybe stick a quarter through here. So, put knockers. we're good on the beds, actually. The lockers, or this will open this back. Now, maybe I could just do beds, though, as well. Alright, let's stick a bed on each side. It's not gonna work. You just can't see beds. So. Good.
A new tier of research has been unlocked. You can't afford to pay all of your minions.
How dare you? Alright. Nice. Advanced mining 2. I don't know if I've ever actually gotten to the point where you could do advanced mining 3. To upgrade a couple of these things, right? Start with that one. Space for some. Nope, that's all full up. Once I get the secondary mining technique down, I'll be able to hopefully get into this area, clear out some more stuff. Yeah. Maybe. Now, do I want more laboratory stuff right now? Probably not. Not at the moment.
A criminal network has been
Meant to be
upgraded.
there? I assume that's meant to be filled up with something. Alright. Yes! Go, baby, go!
A criminal and our network has been upgraded.
Huzzah. Now, do they just gain whatever over time? I just wonder if they just literally gain heat over time. Not for sure. Yoink.
A scheme has succeeded.
Huzzah. No. Dang it. I was just thinking this one should be cooled down before I do anything, otherwise it's gonna become overheated. Yeah, Australia, land of criminals. Alrighty. Now, back to the basics. 71. I'm thinking it's the... Yeah, it's the lockers. That's the linchpin here. The choke point. Could be though. It's more thinky thingies. It's sparsely populated. I wonder if you played that backwards if it would say something. That's what it sounds like. Alright, let's see if we have enough for research. How about this? Nope, none of those. Okay, is it? What did I goofy grab over here? Oh, yeah, we're good.
A brand new henchman has joined your organization.
Yeah.
Iris, run a systems check.
Processing. My consciousness is in complete control of this physical unit. Core air functions are unaffected.
Excellent. We can't have the place burned down just because you felt like a walk, can we?
That would be inadvisable.
Cold intelligence with a tough outer casing. It's like looking in a mirror. Almost.
Yeah, she's a lot prettier than you are.
So, boss, what do you think of your new lair? It's good, right?
There's something wrong about it. It's ugly. It's too yellow.
Oh, I like it. It's
Racist.
bright, it's cheerful. It's the colour of our swell uniforms.
That's it. That's what's wrong with this place. I have build me an inner sanctum. Use lots of gold.
Gold. Alright. Sanctum Sanctorum. I don't know how big this thing needs to be. Alright. And it didn't occur to me until later. I think your desk is what you use to restore your genius's stats, I guess. That lost. Yeah, let's do it. Has to be a door. It's a sanctum. Let people see what he's doing. Unfortunately, we do not have more minions at the moment. They're all gone somewhere. Everyone's gone. It's all abandoned. Oh, there's some doing some stuff. Oh, so you're still in some
A
of this
small
stuff too.
fire has started in your rear.
Oh, dear Gussie. Did I not have... I was 90% sure I put fire extinguishers over here somewhere. Maybe not.
The fires are getting out of control. The fires are getting out of control. The fires are almost under control.
What the Harry?
All fires have been extinguished.
Thank you. Please stay that way. I should build these in blocks or something. So that the fire can't spread as much. Ow. You have to build a certain amount of tiles?
A small fire has started in your rear.
I hate you. I think I'll be good.
Salaries paid.
Rifle.
The fires are getting out of control. The fires are almost under control. An item has been destroyed.
We're gonna need it. Where,
An item has been destroyed.
we don't have enough technicians or something?
A small fire has started in your rear.
Shut up, please.
All fires have been extinguished. A small fire has started in your
Technicians? Where
rear.
are the bloody technicians? Alright. There's one.
A small fire has started in your rear.
I hate all of you. Now,
An item has been destroyed.
let's create an electrical
item has been destroyed.
Thank you so much.
All fires have been extinguished.
The problem is we need the technicians back. I don't know what they're doing. But we need them back.
A small fire has started in your rear.
Shush.
Not enough gold to complete this construction.
Shush.
An item has been destroyed. All fires have been...
Now this is all set up. It's time.
New main objective available.
Am I running schemes with the technicians or something? Is that why they're gone? There should be more. Because I need to end that toot sweet if I can. Yes, wonderful.
A small fire has started in your rear.
Was it just that last one where I recruited a henchman that got them all killed or sent off somewhere?
All fires have been extinguished. A small fire has started in your rear. An item has been destroyed. All fires have been extinguished.
No, this needs to be fixed. Again, where are the bloody technicians? There's more of them now.
A small fire has started in your rear.
Should stop the updates. Constant updates.
Not enough gold to complete this construction. A small fire has started in your rear.
Okay, finally. Doing their job. Thank you very much.
Salaries paid.
Okay, lesson learned, you can never have too many technicians. Or
A
guards,
small
apparently.
fire has started in your rear.
Okay, just not having enough air
An
conditioning.
item has been destroyed. All fires have been extinguished.
Those seem to be running better-ish. Just up to capacity again.
New optional objective available.
Thank you. Alright, that seems to be better-ish. Oh, supposed to kidnap these guys?
A criminal network has...
Find and capture that intruder quickly. Find that intruder and bring them in for questioning.
Supposed to be stuff. Have to do some more decorating at some point.
You have a command? Optional objective complete.
Iris sticks reduce damage for a short time. Rapidly heals any damage that she's already taken. Nice. Interesting. Now, global operations. Scientist, yay. Yay. Someone's
New optional objective available.
Alright, I think I'm supposed to be interrogating those guys.
We have captured an intruder.
Oh, blast. Got away, did he? Alright. Let's go.
We've got a new prisoner. Research has begun. An intruder has given us their secrets. We have captured an intruder. An intruder has given us their secrets.
Let's see how this I feel like there's a big area here. I want more. Well, this thing eventually going to be able to get fusion generators as well. the other thing. I actually want to get more control things going on as well. And again, once I improve stuff, I will need less room for control stuff. That's nice. But still, what back here? I could do like a really large control center. All through here. All the way down here. One big happy control center.
Salaries paid.
What good? So let's go to some of the other areas or some crap. That's done.
New optional objective available.
Alright, you know, I think we're going to be done with this for now. In any case, thank you for watching, and you guys have a fantastic weekend.